Hi everyone! Today I'd like to do a little math lesson on symmetry, and I know that you've probably, or I hope you have, looked into the activities on IXL that have to do with symmetry. So I wanted to do just a quick lesson. Symmetry is pretty simple to understand, but I figured, well, we could do a little quick lesson so you get the idea of it, and so your eye sees it when you're asked questions, maybe on tests or in the future for, when you're off to third grade. So anyway, I want to talk a little bit about the meaning of symmetry and what the definition is. So that'll help us kind of be able to maneuver when we look at objects or shapes. Okay, so symmetry is when an object looks exactly the same on one side as it does on the other side. Okay, so we're going to write our definition here, right? When an object looks exactly, now that's important, it has to be exactly the same on each side, right? So when an object looks exactly the same on both sides. Well, how are we going to know what sides we're looking at? Well, whenever we're talking about symmetry, we're kind of pretending that we have this imaginary line of symmetry that splits an object in half. So I cut my little imaginary line of symmetry, and we're going to use our little imaginary line here to put in the middle of objects to see if they are exactly the same on each side. If it is, we would say the object is symmetrical. If it is not exactly the same on both sides, when I put my little line of symmetry in the middle of it, then we would say it is not symmetrical. Okay, so let's do a few. For example, I've got a square right here. And so I'm going to take my line of symmetry and I'm going to put it right here in the middle of my square. It's kind of hard on the camera here. Okay, so if I put my line of symmetry right here in the middle of my square, is my square symmetrical? Well, the definition says it has to be exactly the same on each side. So does this side look exactly the same as this side? I would say yes, it does. There's a rectangle on each side when I take my line of symmetry and put it in the middle of my square. Now, let's say I move my line of symmetry. What if I put my line of symmetry here? Now, does my square look exactly the same on each side? Well, yes, it does. It's the same amount of space on each side, and both sides are kind of like a triangle shape, right? So we would say that my square is symmetrical. Now, if I put my line of symmetry here, would both sides be exactly the same? No, one is smaller than the other. One side is skinnier than the other. So we would say that it would not be symmetrical if my line of symmetry was here. But because it is a square and both sides are the exact same whenever I put my line of symmetry in the middle, we would say a square is symmetrical. Okay, so let's look at something else. What about my running shoe? I've got my running shoe here, and let's say I use my line of symmetry and I put it right in the middle of my running shoe. Is my running shoe symmetrical? Well, no, it's the same shoe on each side, but it doesn't look exactly the same on both sides, right? You can tell on this side I've got some more black up here. This side is a little bit skinnier. On this side I've got the bow and where my heel is. So we would say that my running shoe is not symmetrical, right? It is not exactly the same on both sides. Okay, let's look at something else. How about my little duck? Let's do a line of symmetry. I'm going to put my line of symmetry on my duck right in the middle. Is my duck symmetrical? No, it is not exactly the same on both sides. Right, one side has the head sticking up, the other side has the tail feathers in the back. So we would say that my duck is not symmetrical. Okay, let's go ahead and look at a trapezoid. Okay, so I put my line of symmetry in the middle. And is my trapezoid exactly the same on both sides? Yes, it is. As a matter of fact, to make it symmetrical, I folded it. to cut it to make sure that it was the same on both sides. And so actually my fold kind of is an imaginary line of symmetry as well. Now let's say though I put my line of symmetry this way in the middle of my shape. Would I say my trapezoid is symmetrical this way? No, it does not look the same on this side of the line as it does on this side of the line, right? So it's only symmetrical if my line of symmetry is going this direction, right? Okay, let's try another shape. Here we go. Here's my heart. So if I put my line of symmetry in the middle, does it show that my heart is symmetrical? Yes, it does. It's the same on this side as it is on this side. But what if I put my imaginary symmetrical line on this side? Well, no, it doesn't quite look the same now, right? Because it doesn't look exactly the same on the top or on this side of my symmetrical line as it does on this side of my symmetrical line, right? So my heart would be symmetrical this direction, but not this direction and not this direction. Okay, and let's look at one more thing. How about my little cup holder here? If I put my line of symmetry here in the middle of my cup holder, is my cup holder symmetrical? Yes, it's exactly the same on both sides of my line of symmetry. Okay, so there's lots of things. Your body is symmetrical. If I put my imaginary line in front of my face, right, I have an eye on each side. I have a cheekbone on each side. I have a jawbone on each side, right? My hands, I would say, are symmetrical, right? They look exactly the same on both sides, right? I've got 5 fingers on each side. There's lots of symmetry in nature, and a lot of people use symmetry for balance and for decorating and things like that. So check it out. See if you can find some things maybe around your house or when you look outside that might be symmetrical. So have a great afternoon, and I will see you later.